Having heard from the picker team, we now move to the friends team. And we'll hear from Benjamin Berner, Ari's friend here from home, his brother that he didn't have. Penina Benjamin, Hannah's friend from home, here from St. Petersburg, and Ethan Fine, Ari's good friend from Camp Ramada, Rome. So come, the three of you come up now.
All of us know how incredibly talented Ari was. He was unendingly smart, musically gifted, and had an astounding stage presence. However, what I appreciated most about Ari was how great of a friend he was to me. There's an anecdote that I heard recently that perfectly describes my relationship with Ari. Basically, it's one that says, a friend is someone who stands in front of you after you've gotten yourself in trouble and says, that was not a good idea. A best friend is someone who sits next to you, the both of you waiting to get reprimanded, and says, that was a great idea. That is what my relationship with Ari was. When I looked around my room, I was reminded of things Ari and I did together and the nature of our friendship. On my bulletin board, there's an award that was given to us in 2009 by Hannah and her friends that reads, Double Trouble Award, Ari and Benjamin. The best moments the two of us shared when one of our seemingly great ideas got us into trouble. There was no idea that was too crazy, too foolish, too dangerous, too ill-advised that would prevent one of us from saying to the other, okay, let's do it. For example, the weekend before my bar mitzvah, I remember I was sleeping at Ari's house, and Ari had the great idea to sneak over the balcony and climb onto the roof. I, of course, didn't hesitate to join him, and suggested we bring his iPod to watch an R-rated movie while we were up there. In hindsight, what wasn't such a great idea was posting the evidence on Instagram where Leslie ultimately saw it. 2015 was the last summer the two of us could spend together before Ari started to go to camp for the full session. For a period of about 2 weeks that summer, Ari didn't have any theater prep or rehearsal for a local musical, and I must have been in between baseball camps. We were left to our own devices, and we decided that we would spend every day on our bikes seeking adventure wherever we could find it. We started local in Bel Air, then ventured into Largo, then one day we explored downtown Clearwater, then we made the trek south to Tyrone and St. Pete. Just the two of us on our bikes, finding our way around the area, meeting friends, exploring, and getting into various kinds of mischief. One particular day, we decided we were going to bike from Ari's house in Bel Air all the way north to Countryside Mall and see a movie at the new theater up there. We got up early, and after receiving instruction from Leslie to be sure to be home for dinner at 7:30, we mapped our ride and set on our way. I remember duct taping Ari's new Bluetooth speaker to my bike and blasting music down the trail the whole morning, and stopping at some fast food restaurant at some point to eat. After a few hours of biking to Countryside with a bunch of stops along the way, we finally arrived for our movie. I couldn't tell you what movie it was, but I could tell you that Ari mowed through about 3 large buckets of popcorn by the time the credits rolled. After the movie ended, Ari and I wandered around the mall just talking about literally anything and everything that came to mind. I remember him detailing to me how excited he was for camp that year, and I also remember wanting to buy ice cream at the food court, but between checkers and a movie, I'd already spent all my money that day. Ari, of course, didn't hesitate to spot me some cash to pay for my own cone. At some point, we noticed it was getting pretty late and that we would need to hustle home to make it to dinner in time. Right as we were about to step out of the mall, the sky opened up in a torrential downpour. We tried to wait it out until about 6:30, but the rain just wouldn't let up. In a panic, I tried to call my older brother Adam to come pick the two of us and our bikes up from the mall and get us home, but he wasn't answering his phone. We were stranded, and we legitimately considered calling a police officer to take us home from the mall so our parents wouldn't have to find out how far away we were. Let me emphasize this. We were more willing to call the police and ask them to give us a ride if we were to let Leslie find out we were 15 miles from home an hour before dinner. After a little bit of back and forth, we decided against calling the police and ultimately just sucked it up and began riding through the rain. In future years, Ari and I would routinely recall this memory and talk about how much fun we had together on that ride home from Countryside in the thunderstorm. He'd like to bring up that he was only about 10 feet away from being struck by lightning when we were riding down the hill on Drew Street, but that might have been a bit of an exaggeration. It's more like 15 or 20 feet. We finally pulled up to my house, quickly changed out of our sopping wet clothes. We both grabbed something out of my closet to wear, and we made it back to his house only a few minutes late for dinner. We sat down and acted as if nothing had ever happened, and if his mother noticed Ari was wearing clothes that were way too small, she let it stay our secret. This memory of that adventure I shared with Ari is one that will last me a lifetime. It's a story that will remind me of the kind of friendship Ari and I had, and how rare it is to find someone who will sit down next to you, waiting to get in trouble and say, "That was a great idea." Thank you.
My life was changed forever 16 years ago when the Weisses chose our community as their home. This family of four included Aunt Leslie, Uncle Mitch, Hannah, and Ari. Hannah was my closest and oldest friend. From the young age of 3 until we were 19, we were two peas in a pod, either attached at the hip or complementing one another with our crazy ideas, personalities, and styles. Our lives were intertwined naturally. Our dads worked together and our moms were best friends. We both had younger brothers, Ari and Samuel. We were both oldest children and born in August, had our bat mitzvahs 2 weeks apart right here on this bima, and we even got our dogs, Bella and Striker, 1 week apart in 6th grade. Meeting at 3, we began going to school together at the Pinellas County Jewish Day School in kindergarten. Both belonged to the same synagogue, Congregation B'nai Israel, where we are today, and went to Shorecrest together too. We always went to high holiday services together and always found our names in the parsha, Penina and Hannah. Since kindergarten, we had always danced to certain prayers, bobbing up and down in a choreographed way. When we were little, we were together 24/7, and there was so much overlap and togetherness. But as we got older, we also gave each other enough room to grow and explore. Through it all, we always had each other's backs. From the Jewish Day School with Jack, Ari, Rachel, and Hannah, to Shorecrest with Caroline, Victoria, and Nicole, we had each other and always found our little group. Whether it was dressing up as loofahs during homecoming week, or a countless number of boat days going to Frenchies, water skiing, and chilling on the boat, we found our group. From playdates when we were little, to sleepovers, to driving in Independence, we have always been a little sneaky. I cannot count the number of times we hid throughout the Weiss house, in Hannah's closet, in the secret closet by the second staircase, and in the storage areas of their playroom. We were so cool that we often outsmarted our moms, or so we thought. I remember one time my mom was coming to pick me up from their house. It was 10 p.m. and we weren't done hanging out, so naturally we both crammed into her single bed, pretending to be asleep. When my mom got there, she and Aunt Leslie came to get me, but we were asleep or barely breathing, trying not to laugh. There was nothing they could do to separate us. Mission accomplished. Our adventurous spirit never faded, and we got to pull off one last trick. 2.5 weeks ago, Hannah was supposed to come home to Florida after finals on a Friday night, but she was done a day earlier. So we switched her flight to 7 a.m. that Friday morning to surprise her family. Aunt Leslie came over to our house under the pretense of showing off her new car. When she arrived, Hannah jumped out. Those extra 12 hours of being together was a gift that I'll never forget. Hannah was my sister from a different mister. Hannah, I trusted you. You were my secret keeper and my biggest cheerleader. You were the one who got me to go to my first Kadima convention, which later led to USY conventions. Hannah, you were so passionate about everything you did and believed in. Everyone felt your spirit and energy. You were determined, you were bold, you were independent, and you were out there making a real difference, and you did. You made a difference in who I am today and who I will become. My heart is broken. A big piece of our Benjamin family puzzle is missing. We are supposed to save the world together, but my world will never be the same. But I will keep you in my head and heart for always. I will hear your laugh. I will see your smile. I will feel your confidence. I will love our family and our friends. I will remember how safe I felt with you. I am forever thankful for you, your mom, your dad, and Ari, and the gift of friendship. I will love you forever and always.
I first met Ari when we were both 9 years old in Nitzanim, the youngest age group at Camp Ramah Rome in Clayton, Georgia. This past summer was our 7th and normally second to last summer together at camp, and we were in Nivonim in bunk 7. We spent 8 weeks together, nearly inseparable. On the last day of camp this summer, Ari wrote a message on his bunk bed that perfectly captures the type of person he was. To the next members of bunk 7, make memories. More importantly, make connections. Take every moment and be active and present in all things you do here. Be nice to everyone, for we are all part of one beautiful community. Talk to someone new every day. Have a positive attitude, even if you hate the activity. Make memories, but make memories that count. By the end, all you'll have are memories. In memory of Nivo 17, it was a good one. Ari loved people and valued human connections, living in the moment and being present in everything he did and in every conversation he was in, even if you were over 1,000 miles away and on FaceTime. At camp, Ari was known for his musical talent. People referred to him as a superstar, and they talk about his version of Little Lion Man. 2 summers ago in Naksho Live, a performance for the 4 oldest age groups at camp, Ari was in the band, and he performed his version of Little Lion Man. It was so good that the next night, Jeff, our camp director, brought him and the rest of the band up to play in front of the whole camp at closing ceremonies. This past summer, Ari was a part of the Nivo U band that performed multiple times, again, in front of the 4 oldest age groups. Ari was only supposed to be in the band for first session, but the second session band asked him to return for several encore performances, and each time he had the whole crowd rocking. As I mentioned, this upcoming summer is our last summer as campers, and it's called Gesher. We will be Gesher 18, or Gesher Chai. Gesher is an 8-week program at Ramat Jerome dedicated to leadership. It is a summer we have all been looking forward to, and it is the culmination of our time at camp over the past 7 summers. Ari and I had recently created a list of a few things that we both thought would be very funny and interesting to bring to camp this summer. Ari wanted to bring dog cones and reflective jackets. And we had a lot of funny things planned to use them for, and we had ideas on themes and activities for Color War, which Gesher is in charge of planning, along with many ideas for the rest of our time at camp. The number 18 is important in Judaism as it represents life, or Chai. It is fitting that our Gesher summer is Gesher Chai, or Gesher of life. This summer, we will honor Ari's memory and celebrate his life. Ari played such a big role in so many people's lives and will be with us in everything we do. I was really looking forward to this summer, our Gesher summer with Ari. It makes me so sad knowing that I won't be able to experience it with him. And I know that this summer without him will be incredibly hard. We lost a very loud voice, a strong leader, and a good friend. But we will be louder and more powerful than ever because we have him in our hearts and in our thoughts. About a month after camp had ended, Ari and I were on FaceTime and our conversation had led to our regrets from this past summer. We came to the agreement that without a doubt this summer had been the best one yet, and that next summer would be even better in an indescribable way. Ari told me he regretted not going up all the way up to the waterfall at camp, and it was the first thing that he wanted to do this summer after we arrived. In our 4th year at camp, we started going up the waterfall through the water instead of the safer, more traditional dry path. This past summer, we were on our way up to the waterfall through the water path when Ari and Aiden got stung. They stayed back to get help and help each other out and didn't make it to the top with us. I was really looking forward to going to the waterfall this summer with Ari, and I know that it'll be one of the first things the boys and I do when we get back. For those of you who don't know, Ari had a fear of heights. He panicked when we did the high rope sports this summer and did not like to be up high. On December 27th, Ari and I had been texting, and he was telling me about his trip in Costa Rica. He said, "Today we went on a bike ride to a waterfall and then hiked down it and back up. Then I went rappelling down a different waterfall." He had conquered his fear of heights in Costa Rica, and I was very proud of him. He finally made it to the top of the waterfall, just not the one at camp. Many people talk about what a special place camp is. When you spend 24 hours a day together with a group of kids for 56 days, you form unbreakable bonds. The bonds grow throughout the years we all stay in touch. For me and every other member of Ari Da, we consider each other family. There's nobody I would rather be with, spend time with, talk to, or spend my summers with than the people in my Da, and Ari felt the same way. In a speech about camp, he said, My dad was the best family I could ever ask for. At camp, I always feel supported by my friends, even if I'm in an uncomfortable situation. We are tight-knit and stay in touch throughout the year, and I love my dad so much. One night in our bunk this past summer, our counselor Joey Spellberg shared one of his favorite verses from Pirkei Avot. He compared Pirkei Avot to the bro code, because in English, Pirkei Avot refers to the ethics of our fathers, and fathers are dudes, and dudes are bros. This quote from Pirkei Avot that Ari found this past summer is one of his favorites. It translates to, any love that is dependent on something, when the thing ceases, the love also ceases. But a love that is not dependent on anything never ceases. Compared to the talented Ari Weiss, I have very few, if any, talents, which is a clear example that he loved me even though I have nothing to offer. His love for me was not dependent on anything. The love that we all have for Ari is also not dependent on anything, and it will never cease and never fade, even though he is no longer here. Ari was a lover of many things, a lover of people, a lover of music, a lover of his family, a lover of his friends, a lover of Judaism, and a lover of camp. Ari was quick to love and quick to forgive. He loved everything he did and everyone he came into contact with. Gesher 18. As we approach our final summer as campers, I want to share with you something that Ari wrote. Dear Banim and Banot of Gesher Chai, next summer is going to be better than we can possibly imagine. What we put in is what we get out. And if I know the spirit and energy of this Eidah, we will be putting a lot in. I'm sad to start the end, but I'm so excited for the many ways that we will influence Camp Ramah Darom, Gesher, each other, and ourselves. Even if I haven't spent the time I would have liked to with all of you, I love each and every one of you, and I can't wait to spend the best 56 days of my life with you. It is now on us to create new memories, honoring Ari and his memory, and to have the best summer while doing everything for Ari.
Lots of Ari and Hannah's friends are here, so raise your hand if you are a Camp Ramah friend of Ari. How about a school friend?
This school is doing their own video.
I know. Let me finish, Debbie. Come on. Give me a chance. And for all of you at Shortgrass, being a part of this experience, we see your hands, even though we don't see your hands right now. But you see us. How about all of Ari and Hannah's friends from Pinellas County and from the Tampa Bay area who are here? You have represented them all very well. Thank you. Okay, Debbie and Jody Berner, Leslie and Mitch's friends.
We recently watched a video from Benjamin's bar mitzvah where Mitch and Leslie gave a toast to Benjamin. Leslie gave the toast. Mitch stood behind her with his hand on her back supporting her. So that's how we're going to do it. Our life with Mitch and Leslie was like the sitcom I Love Lucy, except we call it I Love Leslie, where hilarity ensues between the two couples and mainly within the confines of the two residences. We don't actually live a few floors apart, but we are separated by about a mile in the same small town. Close enough that our boys can bike back and forth to visit each other, starting at a fairly young age. Borrowing a cup of sugar was a common and frequent occurrence. Just last month, when Mitch and Leslie hosted the annual holiday brunch for Mitch's practice, Ari escaped to our house. I bought fresh bagels for the boys, but forgot cream cheese. Not a problem. Ari swiped it from the caterer when no one was looking and headed on over. On the sound stage of our sitcom, I Love Leslie, there are 3 sets: the Weiss's kitchen, the Berner's kitchen, and Morton Plant Hospital. Wardrobe was easy, only one was needed for the ladies. Leslie, being a shopaholic, would wear an outfit once, okay, maybe twice, and then give it to Debbie, who had a very bizarre aversion to clothes shopping. This symbiotic relationship was perfect. It allowed Leslie to routinely make room in her closet for new clothes without the guilt. Each episode started out pretty much the same. Mitch would already be in the lab at Morton Plant. Jody would enter from stage right, the side entrance of the hospital, closest to the doctor's parking lot. And his first stop would be in the lab to greet Mitch. Dialogue would include them kibitzing about the news, local gossip, Mitch's latest advancements on the instruments he was designing and patenting, or how to approach a case for a mutual patient that would occur later in the day. More often than not, Mitch's side of the conversation needed to be bleeped or edited for prime time. An additional laugh track was never needed because no one could crack up Mitch better than Mitch. Each episode would end pretty much the same. Debbie would get home from work and start dinner. Jody would call and say he was on his way home. Debbie would adjust Jody's ETA based on the events of the day. If it was an uneventful day, she added on 30 minutes to account for Jody stopping by the Weiss home for 1 glass of bourbon with Mitch. If something had happened, Debbie adjusted it for 1 hour and 2 glasses of bourbon. If it was a very unusual and difficult day, she abandoned all attempts to make dinner and headed to the Weisses to join them for another impromptu dinner so that the big boys and the younger boys could relax and be with their bros, as Debbie pleaded with Leslie to read this month's book club selection, even though her sister Marcy said it wasn't a particularly good read. What happened in between the opening and closing scenes of the sitcom was where the comedy and drama ensued. There's the episode where Leslie got pinned between her SUV and the Berner's garage door when the gear slipped into neutral while she was crouching in front of this huge car. Leslie, with her superwoman powers, was able to push the car off of her and by some miracle wasn't seriously hurt. By the time Mitch and Jody rushed from the hospital to see her, she was feeling much better lying on the Berner's couch with a half-empty bottle of white wine. It was clear the Berners would need a new garage door to replace the one with the imprint of Leslie's body. The scene ended with the couples arguing over who would pay. The Berners won when Jody refused Mitch's offer. After the commercial break, we find Mitch in the Berners' backyard rebuilding the grill on his day off without their knowledge. Jody was grateful to have a new grill, and Debbie was in shock that Jewish husbands actually fix things around the house. In later episodes, Mitch continued to shock Debbie when he rebuilt the clothes dryer and removed the large oak tree that fell in the pool after Hurricane Irma with a hand axe. There was that one episode when Leslie was not amused, when Mitch decided to sandblast the kitchen table inside the house. Because it was raining outside. Every so often, there would be episodes on location, like the one in which the Berners and the Weisses go hiking in Canada together with a larger group. Leslie, with her fine-tuned Jewish radar, identifies the Jewish families, points out their commonalities, and immediately brings them into her friendship circle. Mitch entertains every one of the hikers with his hilarious stories. Again, many of them bleeped for prime time. There were 2 tour guides on the trip who were equipped with first aid materials, bear whistles, and walkie-talkies that were only to be used for absolute and serious emergencies. On one hike, the guests noticed that the guides held their hands very close to the walkie-talkies when they approached a particularly steep and treacherous climb. The guests were unusually quiet so they could concentrate on their footing, even Mitch. Leslie was way ahead at the front of the pack with the first tour guide, while Mitch took up the rear. Everyone's heart stopped when Mitch's tour guide in the back got a call from the tour guide in the front with Leslie, with a message to Mitch. I don't know how she pulled this off, but she actually conned the tour guide into using the emergency walkie-talkies to communicate with Mitch to tell him to take a picture when he got to the top of the mountain. My two favorite episodes of I Love Leslie occurred in the last 2 months. The first is the one in which Debbie and Louisa and Tiffany throw Leslie a 50th birthday party. The name of this episode is We Love Leslie. It took months to plan, and they took such care for creating the perfect party with homemade invitations, a unique brunch menu, an outrageous cake, and interesting floral arrangements. However, they were uncertain how their idea for entertainment would pan out. They provided a table full of high-end shoes from Leslie's favorite shoe boutique and asked her friends to pick a shoe that best describes Leslie and to tell her why. They were a bit nervous it wouldn't quite work without a script, but the result was beyond their wildest expectations. Although the details of each story told about Leslie were different, the stories thematically were all the same. Regardless of when and how you knew Leslie, as a child, as a med student, as a daughter-in-law, as a sister, as a best friend, and we were all her best friends. The story included an element of Leslie's fashion sense, her love of shopping and buying gifts for other people, and the way she embraces people and pulls them in to make them feel like the most important and interesting person in the world. They knew the party was a success from her enormous smile that lit up that room. Leslie's infectious laugh was the ideal soundtrack for this episode. On Leslie's 50th birthday, we all got to tell Leslie how much we love her and why. The other favorite episode is the one about Mitch and Jody looking for their Jewish roots at Raymond James Stadium, where the Bucks were playing a Monday night football game. Although the Bucks were having a losing season and the game was of no consequence, Mitch and Jody were determined to attend the Hanukkah party that was being held before the game to disprove the stereotype that Jews can only own football teams. They can be fans too. Jody went online and paid extra for special tickets to the Hanukkah celebration because that's what Jews do. And just like their ancestors, they wandered around and around the vast desert of Raymond James Stadium, not quite 40 years, but they got lost in the celebration. Sadly, on December 31st, 2017, it was announced that there would be no new episodes recorded of I Love Leslie's show starring Mitch and Leslie. The writers in the writing room had already started drafting outlines for some future episodes, such as Ari gets the lead in the school musical and then has to decide among which of the 7 Ivy League colleges he would attend, and Hannah gets engaged and insists on a vegan wedding. For the final episode, we had always planned that Mitch and Leslie and Debbie and Jody would move into a kosher assisted living facility together. Mitch would be holding court in the hot tub, still telling extremely inappropriate jokes and stories to anyone who would listen, and Leslie would be in the computer room teaching the residents how to master the art of online shopping. Instead, to keep the laughter going and their memories alive, we will rely on the decade of reruns to replay over and over in our heads. I Love Leslie was a critically acclaimed and award-winning show full of fun, life, love, and adventure.